today. Now, Swiss drug major Novartis has an enviable drug pipeline in the world, one of the largest for anti-cancer drugs, and that is their key focus area. The company, which brought the famous blood cancer drug Glivec to the world, spoke about its next breakthroughs in a conference at their headquarters in Basel. CNBC TV 18's Archana Shukla is there and joins us now from Zurich to share the key highlights. Archana, interesting update on their pipeline. What is Novartis betting big on?
Well, yes, pretty interesting set of sessions here at the Basel headquarters of Novartis, talking about their broad developmental pipeline. Key takeaway was that the company is looking at a unique approach of using single target for multiple indications. One drug that can treat multiple indications. The company has about 18 drugs in the late stage developmental pipeline, but the focus purely is on oncology. So for oncology, they alone have about 27 drugs, both in the early as well as late stage pipeline, and is also boosted by the recent acquisition of GSK's oncology portfolio, which has added molecules for breast cancer as well as myeloma, which were missing from Novartis's earlier portfolio. 2 or 3 of the key drugs that they spoke about and which they're betting big on, one is Tasigna, which is second generation Glivec to treat blood cancer. This is more potent than Glivec and also treats patients who've become resistant to Glivec. They're doing also trials to take it one step further and see if these drugs can be stopped once the cancer goes undetected. It will be a breakthrough in cancer treatment if these trials are promising and the drug goes through, because till now cancer patients take drugs lifelong, and if this happens, then they would get rid of taking medicines lifelong once their tumor goes undetected. Those trials in the second stage would also come to India, but the dates of that is yet not finalized. The other targeted therapy for cancer which they're really betting big on is the CAR therapy, which converts the patient's own B cells to target tumors. They are in the stages of clinical trials and are hoping to file in the US in 2016. So that is another one. 2 other drugs to treat heart failure is what the company is very confident on. Remember, there is no treatment available whatsoever in the world to treat heart failures. Also an indication which is very, very prominent in India also, with rising incidences of heart failure. And the company has 2 drugs in the late stages pipeline which they're really very confident of making through. And they've started fresh trials for those drugs in Asia, and say India is a lead contributor in clinical trials for those drugs and would also be one of the countries where they'll bring it first.
Well, Archana, that's a very broad pipeline that Novartis has, but what about pricing of these drugs when they reach the Indian market? How does the company spend on developing these drugs as well?
Soaring costs of drug discovery was another key highlight of discussions that happened at this conference, when Novartis's global head of development pointed out that costs have soared as much as $4 billion per drug. That's the cost of developing one single drug, and the reason why patented drugs have become so expensive, and the prices, and the companies are very reluctant to bring down prices, because as part of the innovator-driven companies, they also need to recover the costs that they've spent on developing that drug. Companies are, and this is a global phenomenon, not only with Novartis, but all innovation-driven companies that are facing high costs. Companies like Merck, companies like Bayer, J&J, all of them are facing a similar situation. But they're also working on strategies to look at somehow reducing cost, maybe by using newer technologies, or looking at weeding out weaker molecules earlier in the pipeline so that they do not spend a lot of money developing them and they later fail. The other way, they said, is to look at innovative pricing strategies, like outcome-based pricing strategy, which is being discussed in the European nation, where you discuss with the payer and the government to decide on a price based on the outcome of the drug, outcome of how well it treats the patients. That could be a way forward even for countries like India to look at pricing, especially at a time when the government is looking at formulating a policy for price control of patented drugs. These discussions become important, and an understanding and a background on how expensive drug discovery is, but also the need to bring those drugs to the patients at an affordable price, which is where drug discovery and affordability and treating patients has to be brought together. Back to you.
All right, Archana, thanks so much for that. So that's, of course, Novartis's plans for the road ahead.